How do we reconcile the mundane and the material with the sacred and the spiritual? First, you start the journey by dividing the two in order to emphasize the importance and the speciality of the spiritual. The mundane and the material is, by its very word, mundane means that which is daily, that which is available to us in ordinary life. So it's already available. We all know there are families, there are jobs, there is society, there is education, there is health, all these things which surround us, our daily lives, part of society and civilization, we know. But the spiritual aspect of it is rare and very valuable. It is probably the jewel in the crown of civilization. And so in order to stress the spiritual aspect, from the most ancient times, a division between sacred and secular was made. It's not modern secularism, it is that what we just called the mundane, that was called secular, and the spiritual aspect, the transcendent aspect, was separated. So you had sacred spaces like temples, churches, mosques, and you had the daily spaces of daily life, like an office or a school or a factory. But this comes at a cost. If we separate the two, the problem is we have only one life. We don't have two lives. We have only 24 hours in a day. We only have limited amount of energy. And the mundane aspects of life, they suck away so much of our time and energy. Very little is left over for the spiritual aspect of life, especially in our modern world, where everybody works. Work is a dominant factor of our modern society, especially in the last 100, 200 years in industrial age and post-industrial age. Now, if we don't have time and energy left over, our spiritual life will suffer. The spiritual will diminish in its presence in our lives. And if we make a difference, if we separate our secular life, our mundane life, our daily life from the spiritual life, then our daily life, our mundane life, our work life, our family life, all will seem meaningless. Because it's the spiritual which gives the highest meaning. So on one side, our people complain, I'm working very hard, but I see no point to it ultimately. Why am I doing all this? And that which can give you a point, that which can give you some peace and joy and meaning in life, that we have separated, that we have put in the category of spiritual. And for that we don't have time and energy, because the mundane life is taking so much time and energy from us. So that's why Swami Vivekananda, he stresses, because of the oneness of all life, our sense of the spiritual and sense of the daily mundane should be one. They should not be separated. It is not a secularization of the spiritual. It is a spiritualization of the so-called mundane or secular. Sister Nivedita puts it this way very powerfully. Henceforth, no division between the sacred and the secular. To labor is to pray. To have and hold is as sacred a trust as to quit and renounce. The factory floor, the shopkeeper's shop, the field of the farmer, the classroom of the student and teacher, these are as fit places for meeting between the human and the divine as the door of a temple or the cell of a monk. So how eloquently she has put this, that our daily lives can and should become spiritual. It will actually become easier that way. Then we will not complain that we are not getting time for our spiritual activity, because every activity will be spiritual, every activity will be a puja. And we will not complain that our life seems pointless and meaningless. No, this life is a practice which will take us to the highest, take us to the infinite, take us to God realization, Brahma Jnana, Moksha, Nirvana. So it's a beautiful philosophy, very high and deep philosophy for uniting the old cleavage, difference, break between the sacred and the secular. This unity of the sacred and secular is possible on the Advaitic ideal of oneness, one existence. Brahman is not only in the temple, is not only in the heart of the yogi who is meditating, but is also in day-to-day life, in the computer in which you are typing, in the colleagues in the workplace, in the students you are teaching in the classroom, in the field where I am working, or the factory floor, everywhere the same divinity must be there. If Advaita is at all true, it must be true that it's there everywhere. So why can we not spiritualize all that? In our, before eating every day in our ashrams and many spiritual organizations, we chant Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanautam, Brahmevate nagantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. We think that is something to be chanted before food, but this is a very high Advaitic idea, the oneness of all existence in the midst of work. Brahma karma samadhi, the one who is centered in Brahman in the midst of actions, who sees every aspect of action. The person who is doing the action, the one for whom you are doing the action, the instrument by which you are doing the action itself, all of these are none other than Brahman. One existence, consciousness, bliss appearing in all these forms. So this is a very high philosophy, but it unites the mundane and the spiritual.